your video on the recording all the time, or your screen anyways. So welcome everyone to this this month's edition of Tech It Out with Vista. My name's Bob Geyer. I'm a volunteer with the Vista Center for the Blind and Visually Impaired. I'll be your Zoom host for today. I wanted to let you all know that we have a couple of upcoming events on Tech It Out that I wanted you to know about. So our May 6th meeting, we will have Vision Buddy here presenting their magnification goggles. Then in June, we will have the Sunu Band. They will be here. And then on July 1st, we have scheduled, it's a company called For Blind, and they make a particular product for our deaf blind companions. So they'll all be joining us later. So without further ado, I would like to introduce today's guests. We have with us Ron Miller and Joe McDaniels. They are both with Freedom Scientific, also known as Vispero. They will be demonstrating the Focus 40 Blue and the ElBraille 40, the 5th generation Braillers. And I also want to thank them for donating the nice gift for today's presentation, and we will be giving that away at the end of the show. And if you, Joe, want to tell everybody what that is,
right.
I think you can take it away.
I heard you say a 1-year subscription, but we're giving a 3-year subscription to one of our home software. So you can either pick ZoomText, JAWS, or Fusion, and that will be for a 3-year period.
That's fabulous. Thank you.
And I'll let you decide on who wins it. I'll just provide the winner with the codes and the ability to access that.
Well,
okay?
what I'll do is at the end of the meeting, I'll have you pick a number between, I forget what the numbers are right now. Anyways, I have a spreadsheet with everybody who's registered, and I'll let you pick a number between 1 and whatever number there is, and then that lucky winner will get it, and I will email you their contact information.
Perfect.
Hi, can you live outside California and still receive it?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. Because I'm not in California. All right. Good luck with presenting.
Thank you. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much. My name is Joe McDaniel. I'm the Western Regional Director for Freedom Scientific, Optelec, and Enhanced Vision, otherwise known as Vispero. Can you see my slides? Can anyone
yes.
see? Okay,
yes,
good.
They're visible.
So my contact information is here on the slide. I'm showing that with my email address, which is jmcdaniel@vispero.com, VISPER.com. And I also have Ron Miller's contact information up here too. He's R Miller, as in Ron, R Miller @vispero.com. And so we're going to be talking about a lot of things today. Ron will be talking about our blindness products, and I'm going to just give you guys a little bit of introduction to some of our low vision products. I think maybe a lot of you might be familiar with our Ruby magnifier. It's a handheld, and it's a small, compact magnifier, which is done really well for a lot of people wanting to go to restaurants, seeing prices at the store. It's very portable. It goes in your pocket. It's been around for about 12, 13 years. Super, super successful product. And what we've done is we've introduced a new Ruby. The other Rubies were 3 to 5 inch screens. The new Ruby is a 10-inch screen. It's still portable. It's a very, very easy to use device. It sits up in a position where when you're sitting at a table using this to magnify things, it's a very comfortable position. If you're sitting back in a chair, you're not having to lean over and look down. So the footprint of it is very ergonomically comfortable to use. The unique thing about the Ruby is that we've actually taken it to one step. A lot of people in the industry have been asking for a handheld that can do the OCR, the optical character recognition. And I'm happy to say that the Ruby does do this. I'm showing a picture on the screen right now that shows the Ruby and how it's like at an incline. So when you are sitting and comfortably against the chair, it's at an angle. It's showing how easy it is to turn on with the power button.
Hey,
There's
Joe.
a LED charging light that lets you know it's on or off. There is an audio jack, so you can put your headphones in. If you have Bluetooth headphones set, it works with that fine too. And again, it has a USB-C port too, and that's for charging.
Hey, Joe.
Yes, Ron.
For those who can't see this, just so you understand, if you're talking about it with other folks, or if you're involved and you're doing AT training or whatever, and you have a
Yes.
client that you're training, when Joe says it's inclined, it's really neat when you think of most of the handheld magnifiers, including our older Rubies. If you were putting them down on a page, they would lay flat on the page, so you had to kind of lean forward so you're more above the screen to look at it. But this actually sits so that it is physically, the camera's down at the page, but the Ruby itself, the body of the Ruby, the screen itself is up at an angle, so that it's facing you. So when Joe says you can lean back and still see it, it's because instead of laying flat on the page, the screen is actually at, I don't know, what the degree of angle
90.
would be, huh?
Probably a 90 degree, right?
Something or less, but it's just it puts it at a comfortable viewing angle, so you don't have to be hovering over this thing. You can sit back and look at it. So it's pretty handy.
Thank you, Ron. Okay, I'm switching over to my next slide, and again, it's explaining exactly, showing exactly in two photos what we mean. On the left-hand side, there's a lady looking at photographs. It does great on photos, so she can make photos, enlarge them, and see different parts of the photo. And then the gentleman on the right is actually has a wand. So it's really hard to explain on a Zoom call, but the Ruby has a wand that from the top it just pulls out. And once that wand pulls out, you can place any 8.5 by 11 document to the right side of this device, and it will show the full page. And that's really convenient to be looking at a document or even a form. Let's say you have to fill out a form, an application or something. You simply put that application to the right of the device, open the wand up, and now you can magnify, and this is a touch screen. So you can either magnify in the old school way with pushing the plus button, which is tactile on the right-hand side, or you can pinch it with your fingers and make it larger, since it is a touch screen. Here I'm showing the main menu, and it basically has two modes. Most 90% of the people use the default mode, which is just your basic setting up your voice, how loud it is, hooking up the Bluetooth, slowing up the speech or speeding up the speech. So that's our default mode. And there's also an advanced mode, and that's just for getting into a little bit more of the enhanced features, which I'm about to get into. So just so you guys know, the Ruby 10 it's very customizable. It has just the default mode and then the advanced mode. And I'll be explaining that more in a second. So again, the settings allow you to make the contrast different colors, or anything you want to do is with a Bluetooth. You can put your go to the Bluetooth part and hook up your speakers or your Bluetooth speakers, and then also the volume rate and things like that. The advanced mode allows you to go into the speech and change the speech, and then also the language. It does about 20 different languages. So if you put, let's say you put Spanish down, it will read Spanish, and you can even choose Latin American Spanish or Castilian from Europe Spanish. So the Ruby 10 can, let's say you have someone from Spain, you can actually have a woman or a man's voice with that Spanish accent from Spain, or again, like I said, the Latin American Spanish with a Mexican or more of a Central South American accent. So again, you'd be accessing that in this advanced mode feature here. This also shows the magnification features of the camera. So the Ruby 10 is set up where you can have focus lock on it. So this is really handy when someone who has low vision is doing something with crafts, where they're like putting stamps in and out, coins, or looking at cards or different things like that. when you have the focus lock on, that way you can move objects in and out without it getting blurry. So that's a nice feature to have. It also has an overview camera. So I'm not going to say it does long distance, but if you just are holding the Ruby 10 and you're standing in front of McDonald's, you can all of a sudden see the menu up on the wall and zoom in on it with your finger, or use the tactile button on the right to increase the magnification. And you can see objects that are several feet away, like the menu, or let's say you're at a bus stop and you're looking at the bus schedule and things like that. So I'm not saying it's like a really great telescoping long distance camera like our Onyx products, but it does do great for when you just want to see several feet, like 6 or 7 feet in front of you. Here, there's a picture of the Ruby 10, and it's sitting on a table, and to the right of it is a contract, and the wand is up, so you can see everything to the right of the device. And here you have somebody's making a signature, and they're actually signing it. So again, it's great for filling out forms or signing contracts and documents and things like that. So when you're looking at something on the right hand side in 8.5 by 11, you can push the button once and it's going to snap a picture of it. But when you hold it down, when you take the picture for more than 3 or 4 seconds, it's actually going to go ahead and just OCR that. So if this was real life, I'd be putting a document down, I'd be holding the camera button down, and then it's going to actually take a picture and then just start reading. And as it's reading, I can do a couple things. I can magnify with the button on the right, tactile button on the right, or I can pinch with my fingers, make it bigger. I can change the color contrast. I can make the speed of the document. I can make the man or woman who's ever speaking speak slower or quicker. I can pause really quickly. So it's a really super easy to use device. We love it. So you can also change how you view so a lot of people don't like to just listen to the document being read. They want to read it. So we have different ways to see that. The first one's called ticker tape. And just picture like a stock market. Like, do you guys remember when on the Addams Family, when Gomez used to like read the stock exchange, he used to have a little ticker tape come out of a machine. So it's kind of like that. You can, when you're in the ticker tape mode, you just see one line across with the actual text that's being read. You don't see the text above or below. You don't see images. You just see one line of the words going across, and you can magnify that as much as you want. So that's one way people like to view this when it's being read. Another is the teleprompter, and that's kind of a lot like when people are on stage on TV. They're reading off a teleprompter. So you're going to see like only text, no images, but again, you'll see everything. But it'll be just highlighted the part that's reading at the time. And then also images, you can just have just images shown and zones. You can just touch with your finger. If you're low vision, you can see the screen. You can just touch on your finger and have it start reading that paragraph, or go back to the one before just by touching it. It's really simple and easy to use. There's also a help text. So you can actually, when you have the Ruby 10, you can have it in the help text mode, and any button you touch, it's not gonna do that feature. It's gonna tell you what it is. So this is a great way to learn about how to use your Ruby 10 by putting it in the help text, and you can just push all the buttons and go into all the menus, and it just pretty much explains what's available. It's very intuitive. This is a thing called edge effect. So sometimes when we're using those contrast colors, like the white on black and the black on white, and sometimes we like to use the blue on yellow and the black on yellow, but sometimes those kind of get washed out in the middle. So what we do here is we have this effect called the edge effect, and it takes your document, your characters, your words, and it kind of puts them in little boxes. And this really helps show for somebody that's trying to also read what it says. It's called edge effect. It's a feature we have. And then we have edge highlight. So this not only puts all the words in like in a box form, it highlights the outer edge of each letter. So that really helps with looking at the image and things like that. It also does color blindness. It has color blindness filters. So I just brought a screen up that has 3 different images. It shows a beautiful fall tree that's bright coral red in the fall. And that's what somebody sees that has no color blindness at all. Then it has another picture, the second picture, and it shows that same tree, but it's all very, it almost looks green. It doesn't show the real color. And for somebody that has deuteranopia or color blindness, this is what they would see. So when somebody does have color blindness and they have the Ruby 10, they go into a mode and they kind of take a little quiz. It just takes a minute. You answer some questions like, what does this look like here? Do you see this better? And it kind of customizes the image for your different degree of color blindness. So the picture I'm looking at, the third picture, actually shows the corrected view from the Ruby 10 for somebody who has color blindness. It's not as bright and brilliant as the first picture, as if you had no color blindness, but it's really bright and beautiful still, and it really does improve that. So I think we're the first product on the market that came out with a feature that helps people that have the different forms of color blindness. It's deuteropathy, and then there's protonopia and tritonopia. So I know I just butchered the pronunciations of those, but I just wanted to let you know that. There's also a feature called contrast and dynamic adaptive contrast. Again, this is another way that when you're using those highlighted, those color contrasts, you're seeing more print, you're seeing more image, you can get the characters, you can read them better. We've just enhanced the colors and made them more dynamic and easier to see. And you can definitely see an improvement when you look at just a normal Ruby and then use the Ruby 10. Again, it's got connects to other devices. It's got the audio jack, so you can just plug in the old style headphones. It has the USB-C cable connections, which is easy to put in. That's to charge the device or to connect to a computer. Because believe it or not, you can download files from the Ruby 10 to a computer or from a computer to a Ruby 10. It also has the Miracast, which is a wireless connection. So let's say you have your Ruby 10 and you're looking at something like documents or coins or collections. You can actually hook it up to your larger TV device or a monitor and be able to show that on a big screen in your living room or your office or kitchen or whatever. So a lot of devices connect to the Ruby 10. Are there any questions in the Ruby 10 before I move on to anything else?
Yes, 2 quick questions.
Sure.
The famous question of price, and do you need internet?
You don't need internet.
Would it be a standalone? No internet, okay?
Yeah, no internet. And the Ruby 10 comes in 2 forms. It comes in with speech and without speech. I believe the with speech is around $1,600 and the without speech is around $1,400.
What do you mean with speech?
So a lot of people don't want to have the OCR and the speaking capability. We have a lot of deaf customers, or people that just want the Ruby as a magnifier, not with the speech capability.
Okay, very good.
Any other questions?
Let's see, we have Dawn, you have your hand up. Go ahead, Dawn, unmute yourself.
I was wondering if the Ruby 10 can do 2 pages, like if it can see the spine of a book and understand that there's 2 pages, or do 2 columns in a newspaper and understand how to read that.
Right, so the Ruby 10 is a portable device. It does have the wand that comes up and you can do a full 8.5 by 11. So if your book with a spine, the great thing about it is you can actually have your book upside down and don't know it, and it will still do the OCR like it was right side up. So if you have a dictionary or a Bible, there's no way you're going to get both pages in on the scan. But like I said, if you lift the wand up and you put the document to the right side of the Ruby 10, and you turn your book like at an angle, like it's up and down, because you can scan it upside down, right side up, to the left or to the right. It's going to read it correctly. So yes, it will do both pages if it's a small enough book, like a paperback. But if you have a magazine or a book that's like 8.5 by 11, you'd want to do one page, scan it, and then do the next page. Don, does that answer your question? Okay, I think it did.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
So I'm going to show my next slide. So this is a really unique slide. As you know, Vispero, we are 3 brands. We are Freedom Scientific, we are Enhanced Vision, and we are Optelec. And what we did this past year is we created a low vision device in each category, in each brand, which is basically the same model, but you can choose from whichever brand you'd like. And this is a very unique product. This is super portable. We call it our portable foldable line. So these units weigh about 10 pounds. They fold up into a size that kind of looks like a laptop 10 years ago. And the great thing is it's kind of like your cell phone. You charge them and you can use them for a couple hours without them being plugged in. They have a long distance camera so for a student, this is a great product. They can actually take it into the classroom and zoom into the board and actually capture images and save those on an SD card. So the one on the far left of this picture, if anyone can see it, is called the Merlin Mini. That's our enhanced vision model. The one in the middle is called the Topaz Ultra. That's like our Freedom Scientific brand. And then the one to the right is the Clearview Go, which is the Optelec brand of this portable foldable device. Again, they do all the same features. They all come in either 15-inch or 17-inch screens. They're great for just putting it on the table, opening it up, turning it on, and putting all your documents underneath and being able to view them really easily. So I want to let you know that this is a whole new like a category we invented, because a lot of the big desktops aren't that portable. Usually you get them and they stay in one part of your house because they're kind of heavy to lift around. This is something you can take with you like on a trip or visiting a friend's house or just going along, because it comes in a nice little carrying case and you just zip it up and go with it. Again, this is a kind of a in between desktop and handheld low vision devices. We call them foldable portables. Anyone have any questions on these great products? Diane has a question.
I do have a question about the Ruby 10.
Yeah.
With speech, I'm wondering if the speech can be toggled. Can you turn it off and on and off? Or is the speech always enabled?
Okay, that's a great question. In essence, you don't need to worry about toggling on and off. It's a magnifier. You can do whatever you want with it, and you tell it when you want it to speak. So it's only speaking when you're pushing the button long enough for it to do the speech part of it. Otherwise, you just use it as a magnifier, quick and easy to use, to do forms and things like that. It's not going to be doing the speech unless you hit the speech button.
Thank you.
Tom, you have a question?
Yeah, real quick on the last ones you were talking about, is
Mhm.
that with a computer in, like Microsoft?
Oh, okay, the foldable portable units?
Yeah.
These are not connected to the computer at all. This is something, a standalone unit where you take it and you do you can either view what's right down at the bottom where you put your books or your documents, or it has a camera in the back that shoots off, like if you're in a classroom environment, or if you're looking out your window to see what your neighbor's mowing the lawn, or to see the mailbox if the mailman has put the flag up, things like that. It's got a long distance camera on it, and it's for looking your documents straight here, and also self view. So if you want lady wants to put her makeup on, you can point the camera towards yourself, and a man can shave, a lady can put on makeup or fix their hair. So it has those cameras capable, but it does not connect to a computer.
And approximate price on these?
Those are like $2,500 for those units. and I think it's 2,700 for the 17-inch. It's got a 2-inch bigger screen.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. I don't see anybody else with their hands up. So
Okay.
go ahead.
So Ron, are you ready to talk? I think Ron.
Yeah,
are
I
you-
just had to unmute.
Yes. Okay.
Don't be anxious.
So I'm going to be manning the slides here. And the first slide we have up shows actual photograph of all three of our Braille displays. Ron?
Exactly. So we're going to start by talking about the Focus Braille display. And many of you know about it, many of you do not. So we're going to describe a little bit. And the first slide, as Joe says, is a picture of all three of our Braille displays. And they come in three different sizes: 80 cells, 40 cells, and 14 cells. So the 80 cell Braille display, I believe, is at the front with the other two behind it. Is that right, Joe?
Yeah, the 80 is on top, and the 40 is the bottom left, and the 14 is on the bottom right.
Nope, I reversed it. Okay, so if you're looking at the screen, the 80 is behind. It's long, so it's at the top of the screen. It's behind the other two. But you see all three, 80, 40, and 14. So that is that display. And then our next slide, let me get down to it here.
This shows the
Our top view, right? Yeah.
it shows the Focus 40.
Okay.
The ElBraille with Focus 40.
I'm sorry. So,
I'm sorry.
oh, now I got my notes. So yeah, okay, it's our ElBraille. So the other piece of the things we're going to talk about is the ElBraille, and the ElBraille is our note taker, and the ElBraille is rather unique because by itself, it doesn't do Braille. It's ready to do Braille, but you actually have to dock the ElBraille. You dock the Focus 40 Braille display into the ElBraille, and it locks very securely. So our next slide, I believe, actually illustrates that, right?
Right. It talks about the key features of the ElBraille.
Oh, I thought we had the video showing it being docked. That's not yet? Okay.
Not yet.
I'm sorry. Got ahead of myself. Let me, oh, there we go. My slide's not advancing. That's exciting. So the ElBraille is it's a 64-bit computer. It's running Windows 10, 64-bit Windows 10 with JAWS. The Focus 40 Blue, as I said, docks into it. And there it has 8 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigabyte solid state hard drive. There's a SD card slot that'll accept an SD XC card up to 2 terabytes, which is a lot. That's obvious. I don't have a 2 terabyte card for mine, but it would be cool to have. There are 3 USB ports. 2 of them are USB-A ports, and 1 is a USB-C port. The USB-A ports do all of the functions you would expect USB 3.0 to do, and the USB-C port is data and charging only. So you can exchange data in and out of the unit with that USB-C port, and primarily it's there to charge the unit. It does use the USB-C fast charge protocol. Okay. So it still takes a while to charge because it has got a very large battery. You get 15 to 17 hours of battery life with this. And for those of you who like the numbers, it's a 21.5 amp hour battery, or 21,500 milliamp hours. It's a big battery, so it does take a while to charge, even at the 20 volt fast charge. Okay, but it will run for a long time. It does include both Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Okay, and it does do both the 2.5 and 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. I'll move on to the next slide here. There's our video.
Here's the one that shows.
Yep, go ahead.
We're actually seeing how it's put into the device right here on a video.
Yeah, I don't think Joe shared his audio, but you hear the sound of what you do is you take your focus, you pull the lever back. There's a locking lever on the side of the ElBraille. You set the focus down into the well, and then you bring the lever forward, and it locks it all very securely in place. Okay. So now we've got a top view of the actual Focus 40 Blue itself. And if you're familiar with any of the Focus Braille display lines going back all the way back to probably 2007 or 8, We haven't varied our key layout. The first generation Focus Blue came out 2009, and I guess that's where things really got solidified. Top view shows the Braille display, Perkins style keyboards. There's a menu button in between dots 1 and 4, and there are nav rocker buttons at either end of the Braille line, and those buttons are independently programmable to let you navigate around your file or a document. The next slide shows a front view of the Focus 40 Blue, front and side views. We've got front panel controls. There are panning buttons. Everybody seems to have those now. You can activate them with your thumbs. We've got a couple of rocker bars, one on each side. Now, for those of you that are old timers, and you don't have to admit it, we have kind of an homage to the old Power Braille. We got asked, hey, I really liked those rocker bars that were in the front. People could zip up and down, move up and down by line, and use that to navigate. So we included rocker bars. They're much smaller than they were on the old Power Braille, but they're positioned in the same way and they function in the same manner as those did. Okay, so there's also selection buttons. When you feel our Braille display, you'll know that the selection buttons are the selector buttons because their tops are concave. They have kind of a dished in feeling on top. And those selector buttons are used along with the panning buttons and the rocker bars to generate commands like home and end or page up and page down. So the controls kind of work together. And of course, the Perkins style keys let you enter Braille. On the sides of these things are pretty plain. There's a power button and a USB Type-C port, which is for connectivity and of course for charging. And the unit will run about 20 hours on a single charge. Now the 80 cell version of this, the Focus 80, won't run for 20 hours. It'll run for about 12 hours because there's a whole lot more Braille displays to drive. Okay. So Joe, if you could move us on. I'm going to get
Focus
mine.
14.
There we go. Sorry?
We're showing the Focus 14 now,
Yep.
top view.
Yep, I was waiting for my computer to decide it was going to move forward. So I won't belabor this a whole lot. Just for those of you who could see, we wanted to make sure you had this. The Focus 14, what I will say, is small enough to fit into a shirt pocket, pants pocket, if you want to. We actually were targeting smartphones, people who carry smartphones, iPads, iPhones, Android phones. The unit lends itself really well to that for doing short text messages, those kinds of things, and being highly portable. So a lot of people like it for its size. I wouldn't read books and stuff with it, but people do. They want that small size. They're very happy to do a 14 cell display and just pan a lot, move forward by display length. Okay. So our next slide is the front and side views of the Focus 14 again. The layout is the same. We made them small, but we didn't change a whole lot on those devices. Now, one of the things that we did for the Focus 14, 40, and 80 is we've got a feature called Scratchpad. And the Scratchpad is like your pencil and paper to go. Okay. Now I know a lot of other note takers, the HIMS device, the Humanware device, they offer a pretty large feature set with files that can be opened and those kinds of things. We didn't really want to go that route. We really wanted to keep it simple. Our unit boots up immediately. If you turn it on and you're going to connect by Bluetooth, or if you plug in a USB cable, the Focus Braille display is up in less than half a second. It's up and it's ready to go. We accomplish that by not having a lot of overhead. We're not running a lot of programs. We do have the Scratchpad. And think of the KISS method. We keep it super simple. So if you want to jot a note, if you want to capture something really quickly, you can do that. And you can save notes. It does have a clock and a calendar. Not for setting appointments per se, but for putting a date and time stamp into your document, or if you want to watch what the clock is saying. So for example, if your Focus doesn't have an active connection with anything, you'll get a running clock display. So you can watch the seconds and minutes tick by, those kind of things. So it is simpler, but I think it meets that demand. Let's go ahead and move on to our next slide. And it talks about some of the features. One of the claims made here is it is the most rugged, not my day, it is the most rugged portable Braille display available. And I'd stand by that. It's housed using aluminum and steel. We've got bumpers at either end of the device that absorb shocks. So my example is always the schooler, the middle schooler, the grade school kiddo who's carrying our Braille display, and they're putting it into a backpack. And the backpack is sitting on a tile floor or a carpet over concrete floor, or even on a hard table. If you or I were putting our Braille display into our backpack, we'd open that backpack and we'd ease it down and we'd zip it up and walk away with it. I can tell you that when I was a kid, I wouldn't have done that. I would have opened that backpack, poked one end into the top of the backpack, and then let it drop. So we wanted to take that kind of use into consideration. It gets dropped onto tables. We used to have them returned for just people kiddos would be walking and swing around a corner, with the display hanging by a strap, and the end would bang into the wall. I don't know if sometimes they would do it on purpose. Who knows? A 12-year-old me probably would have tried it a few times till somebody caught me. I don't do that now. Okay, that's when I was 12, just so you know. But we really wanted to take into account the environment. So we redesigned the Braille cells. We redesigned the housing. We drop test these units to a mil-spec standard. It's mil-spec 810G. And that doesn't mean we meet the entire 810G standard, but we do drop test it to that standard. We want it to be able to take kind of the bumps and bruises that it might encounter when it's going to school with a kiddo, or it's being used on a work site. Who knows? You want it to be able, for me, I travel a lot. You want it to be able to survive the handling of airport security when they're pulling it out of your backpack and throwing it in the tray and doing all that sort of stuff. You already, we're on the next slide, Joe. You already know that it comes in 1440 and 80 cells. I've already talked about the layout, the menu button that's there, the Braille keyboard. Our Braille display is interesting. There are no cursor routers on top. The Braille display is part of the top housing, so it gives you a nice feel. We've striven to really give you, you can't really capture a paper feel, but a contiguous Braille line. Okay, so it is easy to read. It's nice to read. You don't have that shingling effect, the rectangles of all the cell caps, and that kind of thing. Okay. On the go, okay, with our Focus Braille display, opens up a bunch of possibilities if you're using it with a PC, okay, or if you're using it with an ElBraille. Remember, the ElBraille is a Windows device running JAWS. I tell people the ElBraille is like a computer in notetaker clothes, because it is a full Windows 10 computer. In fact, they just released a new image for it, so the ElBraille can use a Windows 11 image now. So work on the go with your Focus Braille display and a laptop, or if you're moving from desktop to desktop, you've got access to all of the normal stuff you're used to in Windows. You can use iCloud, you can use OneDrive, Dropbox, all of those things, Google Docs, other services to share files between computers in the office and your computer at home, or a computer in the dorm room and computers in the computer lab. You've got ways to move those files back and forth, so only your Braille display has to travel with you. It makes things, handy, and makes them portable in that way. If you are using an ElBraille specifically, one of its real strengths, since it's running Windows, is when you're saving documents. I'm using Office 365 on my ElBraille, let's say. So I'm editing and I'm doing work in my document. When it's time to actually save my document, my Word document, my PowerPoint, when I do those saves, because I'm using Windows, because I'm using Office, all that stuff is retained. Okay, any clip art I've dropped in, tables, formatting, Right now, I've gone back to college, and all my papers. I just did a paper for last week. I was scrambling like crazy. I was on the road. We were at the CSUN conference and stuff, and I was trying to put together this 10-page research paper. It made me sweat, let me tell you. But everything has to be to APA standards now, the American Psychological Association standards. So the margin has to be just so. You have to cite your sources, do in-document citations and a references page. It all has to be formatted. And if I'm using some note takers and other things, when I go to save my Word document, I lose that formatting, or it wants to save it as rich text format, those kinds of things. If I'm using Windows, if I'm using Office 365 and my Focus Braille display and a tablet or a laptop, or if I'm using the ElBraille, it's all totally achievable. All my formatting, it stays with me. Same thing with Windows Docs, the Windows Workspace, Google Workspace in the Windows environment. It retains my formatting. It retains all the things I've done with the document. Mail on the go, again, same kind of thing, whether it's you're using a Focus Braille display, Focus 144080, and your laptop, your desktop. Some people have gotten the Surface Pro, and they really like that computer. I think Joe's got one of those. I want one of those, but I don't get to have one. But you can take advantage of mobile versions of Microsoft Outlook, other mail programs that let you manage mail on the go. Microsoft Mail itself is a good way. When you're doing this with a Focus Braille display, you can turn speech off. If you're out in a public space, you can read your emails, you can correspond, you can do all that stuff, and you can do it without speech, so you've got full privacy. These email programs work really well with Braille on a tablet, on a laptop. It works super well. iOS, its own native mail client, or if you want to I use iOS. I use Outlook for iOS, since I use that at work and at home as well. They all lend themselves to Braille output. They work really, really well. I'll tell you guys, I use my phone, my iPhone, 95% of the time or more with speech turned off. I don't want my phone talking. So I carry a Focus with me all the time. I do all my correspondence and everything if I'm using my phone with the Focus Braille display. If I'm texting, you could ask Joe and my other colleagues. I've got maybe a 2 or 3 text limit. I don't want to do a billion texts. A long text thread just annoys me, unless I've got my Focus, because then I'm not dragging my finger around the screen, or even using Braille screen input. It is not as easy as actually using a hardware device with a Perkins keyboard. So Focus and Braille lend themselves really well, whether it's email, whether it's text messages. If I'm doing email on a computer or I'm doing it on my iOS device, it just makes a huge difference. Okay, we got a raised hand.
Sorry, I raised my hand in error. Sorry
Oh,
about
you
that.
didn't mean, okay, no question. Okay, no problem. I didn't want to let anybody out. One of the other things that you can do with your Focus Braille display is it's great to use with Windows, we've said, and it lets you break the paper barrier. Okay, and I mean that in that we get, if you're in a work environment, especially if you're in a school environment, you get handouts all the time if you're physically there. People give you stuff to read. If you've got your Focus, your laptop, tablet, or again, an ElBraille if you're using an ElBraille, and a Pearl camera, you can break the paper barrier. Now, the Pearl is a really portable camera that we offer. It folds up really small. I slip mine into my backpack, and it unfolds to stand, maybe, what do you think, Joe, foot tall? So that the camera is looking down on a page that you're trying to get an image of. It has a really, really nice base on it. It's not going to fall down, but it's not big when it's folded. And you perform OCR, optical character recognition. It'll get an image of the page. It'll turn it into electronic text. It'll even automatically, the Pearl doesn't do this, but the convenient OCR feature on JAWS will actually even save your your recognized text to Word for you. It'll open up Word and save it for you. And it's all done through the facility of the Pearl camera, which is a real portable little camera. So it lets you do that kind of thing. That opens up anything that you get as a handout, you know, at a meeting or whatever. So Windows in general, you might ask, you know, with the ElBraille, why go to Windows in a note taker? With a Braille display, why not just use my iPhone or my iPad and the focus? Okay, because people are doing it. They really are. Why do I care? Why a laptop? Why a tablet? Why a Surface Pro? Why any of those things? And one of the answers is, depending on what you're doing, if you're in the job market, if you're a high school student transitioning out to college, whatever, Windows is still the most widely used operating system in government work, in corporate workplaces. It's still Windows. And I know that the Apple revolution is coming because everybody tells me. But reality is Apple, I believe placement right now is about 8% into the workplace. All of the Windows apps that are there are geared for producing content that is productivity based. So documents, emails, presentations like the ones that we're giving right now. So if you use Office, like we talked about before, it guarantees full file support of documents, of spreadsheets, PowerPoint presentations. You are literally using the tools that everybody else is going to be using. If you're doing scheduling and things, calendar in Outlook, for example, task management facilities to stay organized.
Ron, I think there's a question. I think
go
Tom
ahead.
has a question.
Tom, thanks, Joe. I didn't see that one flip by.
I just saw a raised hand. Is that, Tom, do you want to unmute yourself?
Yeah, I think that was from earlier when I was lowering the hand.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Continue, Ron. I'm sorry.
No big deal. So, you know, point is, you've got a whole bunch of productivity tools. Did I hear somebody else? Nope, I'm having
No,
audio
we're good.
illusions. Okay. There obviously are a wide range of devices to choose from when you're using your Focus Braille display. You know, and we've talked about, again, tablets, compact laptops, and a lot of this stuff has come down in price. They're really at very, very reasonable prices now. You know, it is very good. So, you know, there are so many different ways that you can go now. Again, ElBraille, Windows-based note taker, laptops, big desktop computers. My big push is all of it with Braille, all of it with Braille. If you're using JAWS, you've got a great feature set with JAWS. The Braille support is very robust. I've transitioned to my next slide, Joe. The Braille support is very, very robust. There was a time, some of you remember this, where JAWS was okay with Braille. And I'm talking now 10 plus years ago. And we have worked really hard at Vispero in these last 10 or 12 years. The Braille support available in JAWS has changed radically. So there is a huge number of Windows-based applications where JAWS support for Braille is great. You know, I talked about using my phone with speech turned off all the time. I carry the ElBraille with me everywhere, but in the shower and at the beach. It is Windows-based. It is running Windows. Mine's running Windows 10. I have not updated it to 11 yet because I'm in the middle of a college semester, and I'm not going to re-image my primary school computer right now. But I carry it with me everywhere, and I use it with speech turned off a good 90 or 95% of the time. You know, when I'm flying home on the plane, I've got 2 quizzes coming up on Sunday. I'm going to be studying for them. And I'm reading the books that I need to pull my notes to take the quizzes and get other projects done. And the fact that I'm using JAWS and Windows with Braille is huge. You can get descriptions of visual components like charts, slides, okay, those kinds of things. Braille lends itself well to that thing. We have a thing called Text Analyzer that gives you cues. I don't use it as much because I am reading it in Braille, but if I've got mismatched quotes, those kinds of things, Text Analyzer will let us know about it. I would ask this as a question if we were in person. I'll just tell you about this. And this isn't Braille per se, but I want you to know about it. If you haven't looked at Research It, Okay, it's a free feature of JAWS, and it lets you look at all kinds of things. It's a free lookup tool, and you can do everything from, you know, if you want to know what time it is in Calcutta, or you've got relatives in England, and you've got really great news, and you're thinking, man, is it too late to call them? You can look up time. One that I use a lot is there's an area code lookup, and I use it in two ways. If I am calling somebody, okay, I've got a number for work, I've been asked to call, somebody wants information, I try my best to always check the area code to be sure, especially in the mornings, if it's 8:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30 in Florida, where I live, I probably don't want to call somebody in California, Washington, Oregon, or Hawaii at 9:30 in the morning. They might be upset with me. Maybe even in the mountain states and stuff. I don't know, but it's, you know, I use the area code lookup to find location on area codes. There's several news sources, BBC and Reuters and CNBC and all these news things. There's airline lookups. If you're going to fly, you can check your flight. There's just a lot of cool things you can do. Two of the ones I tap the most are Wikipedia, just to look up things, and Wiktionary. And the nice thing about Research It is you do your research, get your information. You can copy content from the pages that are looked up. So you can, you know, maybe you're going to paste into a report or just into your own notes or an email. And when you're done with Research It, you press Escape, and it takes you right back to the work you were in before. Convenient OCR is available to you if you're running JAWS from the Windows, JAWS from your Windows device. Now, Convenient OCR is a feature that's only been around for what, the last 3 or 4 years, since JAWS 17, right, Joe? I think is what it was.
17, I think so, yeah.
I think so. That was a game changer, because before Convenient OCR, you had to have an OCR application, okay? Something like OpenBook, or some people used Kurzweil. A few people just went with off-the-shelf OCR programs. Convenient OCR is built into JAWS if you've got a new version of JAWS, one of the newer versions of JAWS, and it will let you use the Pearl camera, or if you don't have a Pearl camera, you can use a flatbed scanner. I love the Pearl camera because I throw it into my backpack and it goes with me. So it will let you, a Convenient OCR grabs the image from whatever source you're using, and it will perform OCR and convert that hard copy print right into electronic text. So again, it breaks the paper barrier for you. You can set Convenient OCR up so that it will auto-save to Word. So let's say I've got a piece of mail, and I want to read it, but I also want to capture it real quick. I can start Convenient OCR, and in the commands that I give to start it, I will have it save to Word, and it actually opens Word in the background. So I've got an empty document, performs the OCR function, and then it puts that text right into Word. All I have to do is go save the file. So I find that really handy. I think it's a very powerful tool. I use Convenient OCR all the time. I don't always save to Word, because a lot of times I just want to see what something is. I want to read it, and then I may not save it. The other thing that we offer is scripting. So if you encounter an application that doesn't work right, we've got scripting tools so that you can customize JAWS and make it work in these environments or work with these applications. Flexible Web is something we've had for a while. I see your hand. Flexible Web is something we've had for a while. Flexible Web, if you haven't played with it, let me urge you to check it out, because it will let you actually customize the way JAWS is showing you the web. So I'll give you a quick case in point. There is a web page that I like to go to called radioreference.com. If you're a communications geek, it's a great place to look up frequencies for different agencies and things like that. But one of the things that it has is a map of the United States. So if you can see the map, you can take your mouse, you can click on the city, and it will go to that database, and you can start looking up things about that city, businesses, entities, agencies. Well, that's all really great, but they didn't use any alternate text on that map. So there are 52 or 54, there's 50 states and then key cities, if you want to hit regions. And all it says is image 1, image 2, image 3, image 4, all the way up to 50, like image 54 or something. They're all graphics, right? Graphic, 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 graphic. It was useless, and it was right smack in the middle of all the other content. So as I was reading down through the page, I would hit that map every time. Convenient OCR let me go in and tell JAWS, hey, anytime you encounter the map on the radioreference.com page, just ignore it, delete it, pretend it's not there. So the map really was there. You could see it on screen. But as I read down through the page with JAWS, it wouldn't even announce the map. It was as if it was gone. If I did a copy, I selected that whole page and pasted it somewhere else, I'd get the whole page content and I would not get that map, dropped into the big fat middle. So flexible web, I have found to be a great tool. Very, very handy. If you're using, oh, Tom, your question, sorry. Hello, Tom.
Yeah, sorry, it was on mute. When
No
you got
problem.
into the convenient OCR, is that part of Zoom text?
No, it's actually, well, it's part of JAWS. Zoom Text, I do believe, does it as well. It is there for that too, right, Joe?
I'm sorry, Ron?
Convenient OCR, they added it, I think, in Zoom Text 2020.
I think they did, yes. And
Yep.
definitely it's in Fusion.
Yep. Well, yeah, absolutely. If you've got Fusion, you've got the best of both worlds. I'm curious because we mentioned the licenses, the giveaway, the prize, and you mentioned it could be Zoom Text or JAWS or Fusion, right, Joe?
Yes.
So let me explain really quickly because there's still sometimes a question as to what is Fusion. What is what is Fusion? And I just want you to understand, especially if you're low vision, so you're using JAWS, but you still have enough functional vision that you like to be able to see the screen. You're still using screen magnification. Zoom Text might be useful to you still. Okay, you're in that kind of transition place. Maybe you use both sometimes, just depending on what your needs happen to be. Understand that Fusion is literally like it sounds. It is like a Reese's peanut butter cup. Okay, chocolate and peanut butter, two great tastes that taste great together. Remember that commercial? Fusion is JAWS and Zoom Text running together. Two great apps that work well together. Okay, I'm sorry for riffing Reese's. Now they're going to come get me. But when you install Fusion, you get three icons on your desktop. There's a JAWS icon, a Zoom Text icon, and a Fusion icon. Obviously, if you invoke either of the JAWS or the Zoom Text icon, either with the mouse or if you arrow to it on the desktop and press enter, you will get either JAWS running by itself or Zoom Text running by itself. But if you invoke the Fusion icon, Fusion there's no such application as Fusion. But what happens is both JAWS and Zoom Text launch, and we've designed them so that when Fusion's invoked like that and they both launch, they work together. They cooperate. It is as if they agreed ahead of time, and Zoom Text said, okay, I'll do all the visual stuff, man. Mouse pointer enhancement, foreground and background color, magnification, all that stuff. I'll do that. And JAWS said, okay, I'll take care of all the speech and Braille stuff. So you have both apps running, both interleaved and working really, really well together. That's what Fusion does for you. So when you get the chance, when you win the prize, right, and you get to choose between Zoom Text or JAWS or Fusion, just remember what Fusion does. So if you still have enough vision, you're still using magnification sometimes or whatever, but you want JAWS as well, Fusion is the way you want to go. If you don't have a need for both, then pick one of the other two that best meets your needs. But I wanted to be really certain that everybody understands what Fusion is, how it works, what it does, because there are times when somebody could really use both of those apps running at the same time. So let's talk about iOS.
We have one more question, I think.
Oh, go for it.
Marcia, do you have a question?
Yes. You were talking about the Pearl camera a little while back, Ron.
Sure.
Now, if you have that Pearl camera, then I guess you do have to use it with JAWS.
No.
Or can you use it for example, if I wanted to put a book under there, how would I activate my Pearl camera in order
Okay.
to read said book?
Yep. Good question. Okay. The Pearl camera is just a camera. It's a dumb camera. It doesn't know anything, right? Its job is to grab images. However, having said that, we now make drivers available for the Pearl camera, you know, the needed computer drivers. So if you wanted to use the Pearl with JAWS, I think that's great. Go for it. And obviously with Open Book, which has been going on since when we introduced the Pearl camera way back in like 2010. But if you have, you know, one of the, my brain just, one of the Kurzweil readers, right, 1000, 2000, 3000, the driver will let it use the Pearl camera now. If you're using the KNFB reader for the desktop, you know, PC version, it'll let you use the drivers for that. Any other OCR application that is aware of the Pearl camera and knows to go look for those drivers, you've got drivers now that will let you use the Pearl camera with other applications besides JAWS. So you've got some flexibility in that.
Because the only thing I have on my other desk that I have is I have it with my iPhone, and I'm sure the Pearl camera wouldn't quite go with that.
It will not work with your iPhone, but there are other OCR apps, obviously, that work with your iPhone. I mean, a bunch of them. Now, having said that, I get what you're thinking. At least I think I do, because I was trying it with Seeing AI. I'm in a hotel room. I've been traveling almost solid for the last 3 weeks. We did CSUN, then I was in Southern California, then I got to go home. I got home late Thursday. I flew out to do this stuff. I'm in Texas right now. I left on Tuesday, so I was only home for a few days, but I go home tonight, so that's good. But I was trying to to figure out whether I had shampoo in my hand or conditioner or the body wash stuff that they give you. And I was trying to use Seeing AI to read the barcode. No slam against Seeing AI, but we're talking a hotel shampoo bottle, so it literally fits into my palm with space left over. I never could find the barcode. I was trying to read the bottle label and it's tiny text, so I was getting eases of erds and arts of entences, and you know, so instead of the full sentence, full words, yeah, I was getting bits and pieces. So it would be nice to have a camera, set it up on the stand, let Convenient OCR get the picture. You're right, or the iOS equivalent. That would be cool, Marcia. But the Pearl does not talk to your iPhone now, and I didn't have my Pearl camera here with me, so I couldn't just set it up and use my PC. Another hand?
Stacy, go ahead.
Hi, thank you.
Hi.
So my question is, could you, and you might have just answered that, but I didn't quite get it. Could you take a picture with a smartphone and share it with your computer, and then the OCR would work on that or
Now
not?
that is a great question, okay? If you take a picture with your smartphone and you save it, let's say as a JPEG file or TIFF or you know, GIF, one of those files, and you move it to your computer, you send it to your PC, okay? You can use Convenient OCR to look at that picture. Absolutely. And actually, instead of Convenient OCR, you'd use what's called Picture Smart. And Picture Smart is another feature we've got. It is very cool because you can take an image and look at it, and Picture Smart will do a couple of things. It will go out to, we've got access to several databases of just millions and millions of images, excuse me, and it will describe the picture for you. So for example, I've got one of Eric Damry, who's Mr. Jaws, playing golf. And it doesn't know it's Eric Damry, but it does say person playing golf. These things may be in the picture, golf clubs, mountains, blah, blah, blah. So it'll describe the picture for you. It even, I've done it where it recognizes landmarks. And it's actually like I have one with the Golden Gate Bridge in the background. And one of the things is it says this landmark may appear in this picture, Golden Gate Bridge. You know, I've had it recognize people whose pictures are in public databases. You know, this person's one of my wife's best, what is my wife's best friend? She used to work in the state of Oklahoma Office of Business Development, and somewhere they got her picture probably in the paper or something. And I wondered what it would say with a personal photograph of my wife and our friend Laura standing in front of our fireplace at my house, and it said, Laura Smith standing in front of Laura Smith and another person in front of fireplace, and I was just blown away because it recognized her. It found her somewhere in a database and named her. So the other thing that it does, though, that directly answers your question is if you give it an image of text, it will perform OCR on that text. So yes, you could take a picture with your smartphone or other device, save it as for example, a JPEG file, and send it to your PC, and Convenient OCR will perform, not Convenient OCR, sorry, Picture Smart will definitely perform Convenient OCR on that for you. Yes, ma'am.
That is awesome. Thank you.
Good question. Thanks. And what's silly is I've never thought to do that before. So.
Rob, you have a question?
Yes, I do. I have a couple of questions, Ron. Good to hear your voice again after all these years. And boy, technology has sure moved fast.
Change.
Oh boy. Right. So if I were interested in the Power Braille, would I have to send my focus back to Freedom Scientific, or would they just send the Power Braille to me?
You mean the ElBraille?
I'm sorry, the ElBraille.
That's okay. You threw me there. Let's see. Golly, we don't have any more Power Brailles.
No, well, that's from my work at Telesensory, I guess, all those years ago.
Yeah, back in the day. Oh my goodness. No, we'll just ship the ElBraille to you, and you dock it yourself.
Okay, that's what I thought. At one point, I know you had to send it back, but
that was the older version. That's because what they did there was they actually took that Focus Braille display apart and they melded it.
Okay.
Org.
Yeah.
And they combined it with the ElBraille hardware. Beautiful.
Yeah. And what are just the basic specs of the current ElBraille, and are there plans for future models?
It's an i5 processor. It's got 8 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabyte hard drive. It has an SD XC port on it, so you could do up to 2 terabytes on your on an SD card. It has 3 USB ports, 2 USB-A ports, which are 3.0, and it'll do all that USB 3.0 does with the data rates. And then the C port is a data-only port and a charging port.
Okay, and then also I was just curious. I noticed there may be some differences in the way that the the Scratchpad is used. Is it still the same where I have to export into a text editor, or am I now able to edit a file on the ElBraille, save it, and then maybe put it on the PC and get text?
So that's a good question. The way the Scratchpad works is still basically the same. So you would compose your note, on the Scratchpad.
Yeah.
Do all of your editing, and we have an export feature, which, as far as your device is concerned, your connected device, it just looks like you're brailing kind of quickly. So it sends keystrokes upstream to whatever you're connected to, whether it's your iPhone, your Android phone, your laptop. The Focus doesn't care. It's just sending keystrokes up. Now, the magic really happens at your screen reader's end of things. So I'll use JAWS as my example. If I'm doing all of my notes in Braille, contracted UEB, let's say, if JAWS is set up for UEB Braille and it's set up for contracted input, which mine is all the time because I drive my computer like I am now with my Braille display. If I open up a file or an email or whatever and I tell Focus to export, it'll send that content to my PC, and JAWS, of course, very dutifully back translates it for me, and I can save that file or send that email, and it all appears as all proper and correct plain text.
Okay, great. So that's still the same. Really hasn't changed too much. It just seems like
changed. Well, we added some features, and I'll tell you about those too.
Good.
It hasn't changed simply because the Focus was intended to kind of be, as I said earlier, kind of a dumb device. It hasn't got a ton of features, and we are, there's a trade-off there. It also doesn't take, 20, 30 seconds to boot up. There is no little indicator saying I'm waking up.
Yeah.
You power it on and it's on. It's there. Ours also, they don't crash. You don't see Focuses crashing and having to be rebooted and stuff. They're not smart enough to crash. Okay.
Yeah,
and,
really.
I say that on purpose to give you an idea of what we're doing. So the Scratchpad doesn't have the ability to back translate or forward translate Braille. Okay, it can't. It never was intended to.
Sure.
So Scratchpad is sort of what you see is what you get. We save your keystrokes, but wait, there's more. We have added the ability to open up and edit text files, plain text.txt files. The catch is you have to do it in computer braille. If you're good with that, you are golden. You can do that all day long. Okay?
Oh, that's great. So in other words, if I really want to,
Mhm.
I could bring a file into, let's say, books
Yep. No,
or
you put it in.
notes,
You put it in
I should
notes.
say, and then I could save it as I could save this.
Well, you'd move it in as a text file.
I'd move
Okay.
right, and I can edit and make changes to that.
You can edit and make changes. You just have to remember, don't forget what you're doing and start doing grade 2
Yeah,
in your text file, or you're
sure.
going to end up with cartoon cuss words.
Okay, that's
Because there's
perfect.
no export feature. You're not using anybody to back translate.
Okay, sure. That's perfect. No, that's
Okay.
excellent. I'm a computer braille
I know
user.
people who do that and they're perfectly happy with it. It makes my brain sweat after 10 or 20 minutes. Now, the other thing you can do, Robert, is you can grab Braille files, of course,
Right.
RF files, Braille ready format files.
Oh yeah, I've been reading a
Um,
lot of books.
Yep. Okay. Well, the latest build lets you edit inside of those as well. Just be
Oh.
warned, we're not back translating anything for you.
Oh,
So
okay, so whatever you put in on those
that's what
dots.
you got. Yes,
All right, that's good.
exactly.
That's,
Okay.
okay. Ron,
We've,
thanks very much.
oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Ron, we have another question from Ashley.
Hang on, Ashley. I'm going to add real quick that we've added one-handed mode, which people have been asking for a long time. So we've got one-handed mode. We've brought word wrap back. It was there when the device was first added, and now there's word wrap again, so words aren't broken up in the middle, because that's really annoying. Okay, so we've added some other features. Go ahead, Ashley.
You said Ashley? Okay. Well, cool. They some of the guys, some of y'all took some of my questions. Anyways,
Oh, sorry.
so okay, so you said already that the ElBraille had like internal memory, eight gigs of RAM. Is that right?
And 128 gigabytes of SSD. It's got an SSD drive.
Oh, okay. So yeah, okay. So while I'm on the ElBraille, my other questions was can you repeat like the battery life of it, and also how it can connect to other devices? Is it Bluetooth and how many devices?
Okay, so the first thing to remember is the ElBraille is unlike a lot of the other note takers in that there is no Braille terminal mode. The ElBraille doesn't try to be a Braille terminal because
I forgot that.
Okay, but the reason is because the focus is docked into it. You've got a Braille display docked into it, and we don't disable the focus's functionality, right? The ElBraille connects to the focus using USB. So the focus's Bluetooth capabilities are sitting there ready to go. If Joe were to text me right now, I've got my ElBraille set up with notes on it over here. If Joe were to text me right now and I'm reading notes on the ElBraille, right? I'm using, Notepad or something, and my phone beeps in my pocket, I'll just flick to Bluetooth number 1. I don't know what to call it, slot 1 or whatever, connection 1, which is where I've got it paired to my phone, and I'll immediately be able to see my phone. The text message will come up, and I can answer and do my thing. ElBraille doesn't know I'm gone. Okay, USB connection's still active. I just flipped over to one of the available Bluetooth connections. So you really get all of the benefits of having the Focus Braille display. So five Bluetooth connections. Your USB connection is being used by the ElBraille, but the ElBraille has the ability to disengage that if you need to use USB with the display. So there's a lot of times I don't even boot the ElBraille up. Like if I'm using my display with my iPhone, ElBraille is turned off because we don't take out the Focus battery. So I've got 20 hours of Focus battery all by itself. So there's no terminal mode because the Focus does that for you. With the ElBraille booted up, it has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth as well. So you can connect to other stuff. You can stream. This is Windows. Okay, so whatever you can do with a Windows laptop or computer, you can do with your ElBraille. So you can stream stuff, go to YouTube, watch stuff online, whatever. It's running Windows 10 in JAWS. So the rules are exactly the same as any other time you're running Windows 10 in JAWS.
Oh, I see. So, okay, so if you bought the Focus 40 itself, are you saying that it connects to 5 devices at like one time then?
Yeah, the Focus 40 Blue can connect up to 5 Bluetooth devices and 1 USB device, and they can all be
Okay.
active simultaneously. I have never had
Yeah.
enough geekiness to get that many things connected, but you
That's
sure
what
can
I'm
do it.
wondering. Yeah, that's why I'm clarifying. Could you have access to, say, a smartphone and your computer at the same time, and like a tablet or something like that? That's
Yep.
the reason
Let's pretend that you've got an iPad that you're doing
right.
something on, and your iPhone. Oh my goodness, your iPhone that you're texting on, and a laptop that you're connected via Bluetooth, and you're one of the lucky ones, and you've got a Surface as well, and you're connected to
Right.
that, right? And then one other Bluetooth thing, right? So you can, yeah, 5 Bluetooth and then 1 USB connection, and you can switch between all of them on the
Switch.
fly. And what's
Okay.
cool is it's a single keystroke. Some devices used to make you
Cool.
go into a Bluetooth menu and you'd select the connection.
Right.
This
I
literally
remember
is,
that.
you hold the menu button down, which is located between dots 1 and 4, and tap dot 1 through 5, whichever one of those you want for your Bluetooth connection, or the menu button plus dot 8 to go to the USB connection. It's a single keystroke.
Ah, okay. And what was the battery life for the both devices? The Braille,
The
ElBraille.
ElBraille is about 15 to 17 hours, and again, it depends on what
Got
you're
it.
doing with it. Mine runs all day and into the evening, and I still have charge. So,
Okay.
and then the Focus Braille displays, the 14 and the 40 will run for about 20 hours on a charge. The 80 is about 12 hours because
20
it's,
hours.
yeah,
Okay.
and the 80 is about 12
And
hours because it's 80 cells.
uh-huh. And finally, most note takers, I mean Braille displays, like the competitor Humanware, you can do it standalone and put like an SD card in it and read books or other text documents. Does that
Good question.
capability, because I don't know if it has back translation. That's what I'm confused.
It does
about.
not. It's a fairly dumb device. Now, I know that the new Brailliant does all kinds of forward translation.
Exactly. Exactly.
We don't do that now. You can load, because it has an SD card. In fact, you have to have the SD card in for Scratchpad to work, because that's where the memory hangs out. But you can use BRF and BRL formatted books if anybody still has BRL books. So you can read
Yes.
stuff from Bookshare and from
Got it.
NLS. Those are all BRF. What it will not do though is it doesn't do PowerPoint, it doesn't do RTF, it'll do BRF/BRL, and plain text. Those are the only two you've got.
Oh,
And like I was
and
telling Rob a few minutes ago, if you put in a TXT, a plain text document, it is going to show it to you in computer Braille. It's not smart enough to forward
I
translate
remember
for
that.
you. There
Mhm.
you go.
I remember a computer. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I hopefully understand more about the functions of your focus display. So thank you for coming,
Oh, you're welcome, Ashley.
because it's very different than the Brilliant. So thank
Yeah.
you for.
Oh, they're very different products.
We
Absolutely.
have about 3 minutes left.
Yep. Well, I'm going to kick it back over to Joe.
Yeah, so does anyone have any more questions before we do we're gonna do the drawing right now, right?
Ooh.
Is that right, Bob?